Imagine you waking up one day, realizing that your favorite game had been sued by one of the biggest corporations in the gaming industry. This is the story of Pokémon Brick Bronze. So, what is Pokémon Brick Bronze, and how did it achieve overwhelming success? Let's start from the very beginning. Pokémon Brick Bronze was a Roblox game that had a similar concept to the multiple Pokémon games that we know today, although with the exception of it being in the Roblox platform, making it easily accessible for others as it was free to play. What made the game really interesting was the progression of the story as you played more and more. You discover plot twists, solve mysteries, and meet new characters, both friends and foe. Unlike most games in Roblox, Pokémon Brick Bronze had a great marketing strategy, not relying on pay-to-win tactics, but instead selling cosmetics to their community, as well as multiple game passes that made progression a bit more convenient, although not really necessary to have an enjoyable time playing the game, which was highly regarded by the players, causing them to rack up money while still getting the audience's approval. With their huge community, Pokémon Brick Bronze started releasing updates left and right, and even adding trading to the game, which made it blow up in popularity, giving players an incentive for playing longer periods of time to get a legendary Pokémon. A lot of the players thought of the game to be timeless, never getting boring, and always having new experiences, especially with PvP battles. It made for a really fun game, accommodating both casual and competitive players. Of course, Pokémon Brick Bronze wouldn't be as popular as it was without the help of content creators. It had seemed to be the perfect game on Roblox to make videos on at the time, as it had a lot of mechanics and things to do on the game. YouTubers would easily be able to think of ideas on the spot as the game had that much content. With their impressionable fans getting interested, it had produced a new era, having a lot of players flooding in the game, which gave the developers more reason to continue pumping out updates, releasing a bunch of new locations, as well as updating the story as soon as the players started to catch up. Now that you know what Pokémon Brick Bronze is, what was the problem? It had seemed like the perfect game, made at the perfect time where Roblox didn't have a lot of high-quality games, causing it to be unmatched in the Roblox platform. So, knowing that the game had a very similar concept to another franchise, let's talk about the company that owns Pokémon, Nintendo. Nintendo is a video game company that both releases and publishes video games and video game consoles. They own a lot of games, some of which you probably already heard of, such as Mario, Animal Crossing, Donkey Kong, and a lot more franchises. Here lies the problem. Nintendo had owned a lot of these games, and had the authority to close down anything that are similar to any of them. So, with Pokémon Brick Bronze growing at an alarming rate, Nintendo had to do something. It was supposed to be a normal day, and the game should have had a lot more content planned out, but on April 21st, 2018, the game had suddenly disappeared. There was a lot of theories regarding the reason why, but it all boils down to one: Nintendo took it down. One of the many Reddit posts states the following:
With as popular as PBB was, I doubt Nintendo discovered it a few days prior to when they banned it and were like, oh crap, someone is using our stuff, we need to copyright it. PBB was likely on Nintendo's radar for a while. I think the reason they let PBB go on for so long is that they realized how genuinely good PBB was, and wanted to see where the story went, despite the fact the game was making money via Robux. But then PBB crossed a line. PBB didn't have any custom Pokémon moves or abilities, and only what Nintendo had already made.
Although a lot of Roblox experiences are just a copy of one's concept, such as another game, an anime, or anything that can be turned into something fun, it was very rare for this to happen. A lot of copyright holders, such as One Piece, which a lot of Roblox games is based on, rarely took any actions against other games. But Nintendo was different. The company had a very strict piracy policy, and especially a strict intellectual property rights, which states that Nintendo owns the rights for its products, which includes trademarks. As expected, the community was devastated. Suddenly, their favorite game had seemingly disappeared into thin air, and there was nothing they could do about it. However, it doesn't end with that. It ended up killing off a bunch of YouTube channels that had focused on Pokémon Brick Bronze content. Although popular YouTubers didn't really have a problem, as they can easily switch their niche, small and rising YouTube channels have faced casualties due to this event. After the game had closed down, numerous people started re-uploading the game to make quick cash off of players who were affected by the shutting down, but it was still somehow taken down multiple days later. One thing to note was that some players who recently spent Robux on the game was quickly refunded after, which at the time was rumored to be the founder of Pokémon Brick Bronze's wishes, who probably felt bad for the thousands of players who spent money on the game, only for it to be closed down. They also had problems of their own, because their only source of income suddenly dwindled. It was still a very respectable move from the developers, which probably took a lot of convincing to do. But that's not the end of the story. On December 19th, 2018, one of the founders had came out with a new Roblox video named Worlds Apart, seemingly teasing a new game they had made named Lumion Legacy. And the most interesting part, they had continued where the story left off from when Pokémon Brick Bronze shut down. A huge part of the community was excited as their favorite game was back. But how could they prevent it from shutting down again? The solution they thought of was to make a game similar to Pokémon Brick Bronze, but without using any of the Pokémon assets, names, and even the character models. It was a whole different game, but with the same story. It was the best solution the developer team could ever think of, gaining a lot of players on the first day, and a lot of YouTubers who used to make Pokémon Brick Bronze content returned to making those types of videos. The game they had expected was very different from what they got as to avoid copyright infringement. The developers remade the whole game, and although a lot of players were happy, some were not so much. Although, that is to be expected for a game who had suddenly changed their whole design, but with the same community. With the initial backlash the game had received, it still managed to pull through and made regular updates, and is still being updated to this day with a decent player count. Lumion Legacy might not be able to reach the same success as Pokémon Brick Bronze due to it not being the same game as it was, along with the lack of nostalgia a lot of players feel when they play the game. But it is still considered one of the best decisions the developer team had made, as it was a success considering a lot of Roblox games easily die in the first month or so. Lumion Legacy is still going strong even to this day. From becoming one of the most popular Pokémon games in Roblox history to having shut down by one of the biggest companies in the gaming industry, having made a whole new game, changing designs, concepts, and everything that you could think of to revive the ever-growing genre. This is the story of Pokémon Brick Bronze.